Hi guys, welcome back to my channel, Mars Former Barnsey. Got what I think is quite an interesting video today, and it's a little bit more on the esoteric side of things, really, to be honest with you. I know a lot of things have shown you. A lot of people might think it's very hard to believe what I've pointed out, but don't forget, as I say, you've got to look at all my videos, and you've got to not just look at an individual video and take out 10 minutes worth of information from that one video. You've got to look at all the videos, and you've got to give the evidence a little bit of a chance, because it's such an unusual subject, and I understand that what I'm sort of hypothesizing here is very unusual, if you like. I mean, there's been enough researchers doing this for years, but we seem to have been stuck in a little bit of a time warp of the same anomalies mentioned all the time, you know, like the D&M pyramid, the fort, the cliff here, you know, the face, and that's about it. I think there's one called Atholus, which is out of the image shot, and you know, no one seems to have sort of carried the torch, if you like, and moved forward with it. And I'm not really sure why. I don't know whether it's because the vast majority of people have been using NASA images and not really seeing anything of interest or note. And you won't. The NASA images are a total waste of time, honestly. The only images to look at are the ESA ones. So any researchers out there, get the ESA images and go through them, and you will not be disappointed. Okay, I mean, when I started looking at these images, I just got the shock of my life, and I seriously mean that. It's the same old thing. When I first started looking at these, I didn't expect to see anything. I was just doing it for my own curiosity, because I'd always thought, you know, there was nothing really in it. You know, this hypothesis about there being an ancient civilization on Mars, I hadn't really seen anything that I could hold in my hand and say, yeah, this is solid evidence. Although I was intrigued by, obviously, the face, but I think some of the images we got made it look just like a pile of rocks and a mesa. But that was from NASA, because they were the go-to space agency with the best spacecraft in orbit, the highest resolutions. So people naturally gravitate towards NASA images. And I think to a certain extent the ESA, the European Space Agency images, have been neglected. So we seem to have been stuck in this like time warp of anomalies that were discovered 20 odd years ago. You know, such, like I said before, like the pyramid and the fort, and because they looked unusual in the Viking images and maybe one or two other images, they, you know, people sort of concentrated them, especially the face. But these European Space Agency images do explain everything we need to know about the space projects of Europe and NASA. This is it. This is what they're looking at, and it's absolutely amazing. And it's something that I suppose would turn history upside down on its head if they were to reveal exactly what's here. If they come out and said, okay, yeah, there's a human culture on Mars and it existed there so many thousands of years ago, and then our entire history would have to be reappraised. If what other researchers and what I'm speculating on is true, and it doesn't seem as if they're ready to disclose that at the moment. I think it would upset too many players, if you like. You know, that we've got a set image of human history over the last 200 years, and I just think that governments and academics are terrified to upset that, if you like. You know, there'd be a hell of a lot of people that would lose livelihoods if there was a wholesale change in human history. And I think if this is true, what I've been pointing out over the last 6 months, whatever, if even 1% of this is correct, then we've got to explain why some of the things here are so similar to our myths and legends in Earth history. It means that there must have been a connection between Earth and Mars, and I truly believe that. I honestly believe that. And you know, when I look at everything here, I'm just not seeing a random pile of rocks and mesas and landforms. It's so obvious that they're sculptured, and yet it doesn't seem to be picking up much traction. People don't. I think people are more liable just to dismiss it straight away, because it's not a skyscraper or a bridge or a city or a building that they can see. They can't see the 90-degree angles so clearly, and because it's works of art, people instantly and just dismiss it as impossibility, or it's rubbish, or it's foolish. And I can't understand why. If they're willing to accept images of possible 90-degree angles and roads and bridges and buildings, why aren't people willing to accept things that are carved in an artistic way? The people are much more, liable to just totally dismiss it, which I think is what's happening here when I'm showing people these things. Only when I look at these things, I just see the hand of intelligence on everything that I'm looking at, and I think the European Space Agency have been so clever when they've published these images, because like I said to you before in one of my past ones, we're only seeing 60-70% of what's actually in this image. We're seeing the main sculptures, if you like, because there is an element of denial within them. If I say, yeah, there's a monkey, as soon as I say that and I'm pointing at an image of Mars and I say there's a monkey there, instantly your brain closes down. You go, what's the impossible? Or I say there's a kneeling lady there and she's holding a bottle. You see her eyes and nose, you see her hair, a bobbed hair, she's got malachite around the eyes, there's a hand in a and I'm pointing out all these things. I'm saying there's a kneeling lady. Again, people instantly dismiss it. The fetus in the belly, and it's pointing at the helmeted figure here when you turn this upside down, and it's all joined, but because it's works of art and the many kilometers in length, people just dismiss it out of hand. And the thing about these structures and images, you've got to think outside the box. You've got to think outside the box now. When I first started looking at these images, I was looking for geometric patterns. I think it was Carl Sagan, he turned around and said, if we're going to be looking for civilizations on other planets, we've got to look for the geometric angles and patterns, the 90-degree angles, the straight lines, the roads, which in other words, we've got to be looking for buildings and bridges. And so when I first started looking at this, for 2 weeks I had a magnifying glass and I was looking at everything with a fine tooth comb, and I did find the odd very unusual object, but nothing that I could get my teeth into, but just enough so that I didn't lose complete interest in it, just the odd thing. And it was only when I realised that the resolution on this was just a little bit, just not good enough to see like the finer details, if you like, plus plus they're obscure and everything. But it was only when I actually started to concentrate a little bit more on the actual mesas that at first glance look like a jumble of rocks and just normal geological formations. It's like that old saying, you can't see the wood for the trees. And it was only when I realised that the actual mesas themselves were the were the actual anomalies that it all started to fall into place. And I mean, I got the shock of my life when I realised that everything we were looking at was artificial, everything. And I could eventually see the trees, and I could eventually see the wood. Everything just started popping up. And then when I took an even deeper look at it, then the story that I've explained over the last 6 months and the belief system that is shown here, which is resurrection here, and fertility, rebirth, life, death, it's all shown here. All it's amazing. But you must look outside the box and not dismiss this as just fantasy, because I think we'd all be missing a trick here. And I'm going to show you something now that is an example of thinking outside the box a little tiny bit. This is a little bit more, maybe what you might call more esoteric. It's a little bit weirder. I did say last week that I was going to show this here because it's pretty unusual. Everything else I've shown you have been, they've had the contour variety, duality, and again the weirds, but we can see that they are recognisable animals like birds, the hawk, the goose. I haven't explained that one. I'm going to come to that. Like you can see that's a pyramid, and it is a pyramid. Maybe not like the pyramids in Egypt, like Giza, but it is like a pyramid shape. The skull, the duality, the face here. This face here is just as good as this face, but it's never been looked at, researched. I've never seen it mentioned anywhere, but it's every bit as good as the famous face here, every bit. In fact, there's a couple of unusual features I haven't shown about that, but I might, if I get a chance one day, I'll explain about it. So I hope, in my own little way, that I've moved forward the research in Cydonia a little tiny bit, and moved it away from the classic pyramid and the face and the fort and the cliff, and I hope people don't close their minds to what I'm trying to suggest here, that everything we're looking at here is the product of an ancient civilization that did once exist on Mars, and most probably had a very, very strong connection with the Earth, very strong connection. But because I'm explaining art, if you like, it seems to be getting dismissed out of hand. But I think people are going to be in for a shock. I really do. But anyway, we've got to think outside the box, and this is a perfect example of what I'm talking about. Okay, this is the fort. Okay, and I think it was called that, I think, by Richard Hoagland and other researchers of the time when it was first discovered in I think it was 77 by Viking 1 or something like that. And to the people who first discovered it, looked like a fort. And I do actually think the people who were studying this with the Viking images did really, really well, considering, you know, how poor the resolution was. They done really well to recognise that what we were looking at were anomalous and weren't natural. But they were never able to show you what I'm going to show you now, because they just didn't have the resolution. But they done well to point out the anomalies. Now, when they first saw this, or when Richard Hoagland first looked at it, I'm not sure, exactly who first discovered it and coined it the force. I think it was Richard Hoagland. He did not realise that what he was looking at here weren't just pyramids. They were actually carved sculptures. They were carved they were sculptures on a massive scale, but there were also places where most probably people lived underground. And don't forget, I've said there's a city here underneath all the artifacts and noise that they've put into the image. There's a city underneath all this. I have done a video on it. People insist that it's nothing but noise and it's artifacts created by noise, but underneath all that there are anomalous structures, there are buildings, and it's not all noise. I can assure you. You've got to really look at that video. But anyway, when I look at this, I do not just see a random jumble of natural geological formations. Okay, what I see here is the outline here of some kind of sculptured symbolic creature. See here? And when I look at it, like the structures here, but they're being placed in such a way that it looks like the hide of a reptile. Can you see that? Because I think this is some kind of depiction of some kind of reptilian creature. Yeah, this here and this are both sculptures of faces. Okay, they're not craters, they're not natural, they've been carved out of the ground into the image, the visage, if you like, of humanoid faces. Okay, take a good look at them. I'll try and bring them up a bit clearer in a minute. Right, and this, like I say, and they're protruding. There's another one here, another face there, just there. Can you see it? Right, now, and they're protruding out of the head, if you like, of this reptilian, avian type creature. There's a tube here. See that? That was a tube, some kind of transport tube or a place where people live, but it's definitely tubular here. Okay, and this as well. But what we're looking at is, in my humble opinion, is a mouth. See this? This is a mouth. Right? So this is the top of the head of this reptilian, avian type hybrid creature, whatever, which is also a structure where people lived. You can see the hub of the structure there, the tubes going in, but they're eroded and broken away now. But this is a mouth, because this here, I've christened this, although it's called a fort, I myself personally have christened this the terrapin, which is like a tortoise, but the terrapins have like a very, very sharp beak, because this has got a beak and its mouth is open. See that? It has got eyes, but they're very hard to see, and that's like a platform, and there's two entrances in there, and there's like a wall here and a wall here, and if you look to the left and look to the right, you get the impression of legs. Yeah, it's because it's like a symbolic creature, but it is a creature, and it's being designed in such a way that if you look at it properly, it's moving to our left. As we're looking at the image, it's moving to our left. Okay, it's running it's been designed to portray movement in this direction. Okay. But it's also on the menu, if you like, of this thing here. And I'm just let me rotate it. Bear with me, guys. I know again it sounds a bit daft, but just bear with me. Okay, if I just go forward, say 30. Let me see if I can. I'll just do it. Move it forward again a little bit more. Just bear with me, please, guys. 20. Should have these ready, shouldn't I? Okay. So, can you see where I'm coming from now? Is the top of the head and and its mouth is open. Have you ever seen a snake? One of these big, massive snakes, such as an anaconda or something like that, and they can actually unhinge the jaw so that they can swallow something 2, 3, 4, 10 times its body size and weight, like a deer, or you can even eat a human being whole, because they unhinge the jaw, and then jaw expands around the prey, and then through peristalsis or whatever, it starts eating the prey. But the trick is in the jaw being unhinged, and I think this is what we're looking at here. We're looking at a symbolic portrayal of some kind of reptilian animal. I'll show you more about that in a minute. And it's eating this terrapin-like creature, which is trying to escape or run to our left. Can you see that? Can you see where I'm coming from? And I'll explain now. Right, just let me. I'm just gonna go back. Say 20. Okay, so that's upright now. So we're looking at it from an upright position. There's the face there. We're looking now at an upright position of this creature. It's a symbolic creature, by the way, and it's eating its prey here. Okay, and there's its mouth expanded open to eat it. Because if you look here, just let me do a layer, because I'm going to have to pencil. If you look here, you can see its neck. Here, there, okay, and then you can see its shoulders here, and it's virtually, guys, the same on both sides. So you've got you've got the reptilian type creature itself here, and then you've got the open mouth here. Yeah, and these are, that's a sculpture of a face, and that's a sculpture of a face, and there's one here as well, and they seem to be coming out of the creature, or supposed to represent as being coming out of the creature. And so let me go back on that, and then what we've got here is a fin, and we've got another fin. I think I've got it right here, there, okay, and see that and that, they're both sculptured faces as well. They are not craters. There's another, that's a sculptured face, see there, there's the nose, there's the mouth. That's not a crater, okay, and they're not craters. They are sculptured faces, they're not craters at all. Okay, so but the fin or the arm of this thing touches these two, so I'm presuming there's a symbolic meaning in it. But again, if we follow this round, the body of this symbolic creature emanates from the face. Okay, it actually emanates from the face. So what it looks as if it is some kind of symbolic projection from what I call it the face. I call it Osiris. It's some kind of symbolic projection of his power, of his spirit, maybe eating his enemies or attacking his enemies or something like that. Okay, and it just so happens that the body emanates from the face. Now, is that coincidence? No, it's not, is it? Now, what I've done, just let me delete that. I mean, I hope you can see where I'm coming from with this original image. It's very difficult to see because of the obfuscation of the orangey colour, which is deliberate, so we don't see any details here. It's very, very difficult to see, but you can see the neck, you see the shoulders, you can just see the outline of the fin there, and then the body does come in this way, and this is the same. You can, but it's in the shape of the fin. You can even see it. Looks like some kind of maybe an aquatic creature of some sort, maybe something like that. I'm not sure, but it definitely emanates from the face. Okay, which is obviously it's symbolic. Now, what I've done, I took this image and I experimented with it. Okay, I took all the orangey colour out of it and I sharpened it. I sharpened it on the edges. You know, these lines of the neck and the shoulders where the fin was, so I sharpened it, and I actually went over with the sharpener. I didn't follow the lines round, so subconsciously draw this in. I didn't do that. I went over this way. Okay, so these lines all popped up themselves, and you can see the shape, this straight line here. You see the outline of the body, and it's definitely coming down towards the face. Can you see that? And you know, I can see it, and I'm hoping that you guys can see it. But you can see the reptilian head, you can see the jaws open, and you can see where it's trying to swallow this other sculpture, which I think is the terrapin. And can you see the sculptures here, the faces here? I hope so. And these faces here, you see them? Where the other fin touches. I know it's weird, and it looks weird, and I've had to batter this image a little tiny bit to bring this out, but it's still true to the original publication from the European Space Agency. In fact, we're seeing a little bit more of what's actually here in this dark colour. Okay, and I was talking to you about very unusual faces. There's also another one here. You see that? I know it's weird, but it's there. It's just that in the original orange image from the European Space Agency, you wouldn't even notice that. I noticed it because I go through everything with a fine tooth comb, but the casual observer wouldn't have even known that that was there. But I knew that was there. It's the most unusual sculpture you might ever see, but there's a lot of weird things. And this reminds me, I've done a video called The Sphinx on Mars, and I actually discovered something very similar to this, and it was the most weirdest thing ever. It's in the video if you want to go and have a look. The video is quite long, but it is in the video of a creature very, very similar to this, and it's weird. It's really weird. But anyway, and that looks as if it's in some kind of like walled enclosure, and it's sticking upwards, sticking up. Maybe it's flat. It is flat, but this is the way it's meant to be seen, as if it's standing upright. And you see it, the eyes, the nose and the mouth. Definitely 100% a sculpture, without a doubt. Very, very unusual. And there's all sorts of walled structures all over the place here. Circular features here. There's so much in the image. There's like a walled enclosure here, which you can just about see on the orangey original colour, and it comes up to the face. It actually comes up, see that straight line there, and it comes out, and there's like structures and sculptures and everything inside this walled enclosure. And I'm sure it's like a big wall that comes down here. It's dead weird. And there's all sorts of faces within this. Like I say, we're only seeing 60 or 70% of the actual image, of the reality of what's actually in here. And I hope you can see that. Okay then, guys, I'm gonna only making this a very short one. I'm gonna try and just give you a little. These are only my ideas now of some of the stranger things that we're looking at, and this to me seems to be some kind of projection of the power, if you like, of Osiris, and it seems to be some kind of creature. It's about, from the top of its head to the face, it must be up to 15 kilometers long. We're talking big, because these people built big. They built massive. And I've even found things bigger than this, to be honest with you, in other parts of Mars. But I will eventually get to that one day. Okay then, guys, I'm just going to leave it there, and just a little bit of food for thought. And you've got to start thinking outside the box with these, and look at them with an open mind, okay? Because underneath all this is some fascinating, amazing things, and we've got to start being intellectually honest with ourselves, and not just dismissing everything because we think it's impossibility. There's nothing impossible whatsoever about the possible existence of another culture on Mars. Nothing impossible about it at all. And the only people that are saying it's impossible are some mainstream scientists, saying that Mars has been inhospitable for 3.5 billion years. Apart from its few hundred million years at the start of its existence, it was more conducive to life. There might possibly be microbes there, but at the end of the day, there's nothing whatsoever stopping the possibility that an advanced culture somehow terraformed Mars, or Mars formed Mars and made it habitable. There's nothing impossible about that. And if you look at some of these images here, you've got to be honest with yourself, intellectually honest, and these have got to be really seriously considered as structures and artifacts of some kind of culture, most probably human, that once existed here. Okay then, guys, I hope you enjoyed it, and look out for the next video. I'll show you something that I think's really interesting. See you later, guys. Bye.